Hi guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. My name is Tiana and I'm the maker behind Also Stitched, and today I'm gonna show everything that I have knit, and I'm gonna give an honorable mention to some of my crochet pieces that I did during 2025. If you are first time here, I would just like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Tiana and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. This is my first year of knitting, but I'm not new to knitting. I learned knitting when I was only 6 years old. That was actually 35 years ago, and I've knit through my childhood, teenage years, even young adult. But when I was 25, I learned crocheting, and ever since then I've been only crocheting up until this year when I decided that I want to go back to knitting. This is my first year of knitting proper garments. Before that I was just knitting scarves, beanies and easy small projects. So knitting for me wasn't anything new. I had everything in my hands. I had the muscle memory. It's like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you cannot forget it. So this year was more about me learning the garment construction, reading the garment patterns, and exploring and expanding my knitting journey. For the most part, I'm also a crocheter as a small business owner. I crochet plushies, and this year I've been also focusing on crocheting and knitting for charity, and I will share some of my knits for charity. With all of that, I'm a homestay mom and I have a lot of time for knits and crochet. So please, I just want to preference, don't compare to whatever I have done during this year, because I think I've done a lot. As a plushie crocheter, I do crochet a lot of plushies. I've crocheted hundreds and hundreds of plushies during this year and sold as many. I can craft up to 10 to 12 hours a day because my kids are old, my kids are teenagers, they don't require mommy time, and I have plenty time on hand to craft. I'm not gonna talk a lot about the crochet here, and I'm not even planning on making crochet video like this because most of my plushies are sold. And if you have been following me, then you know that I also have a crochet videos and knit videos, so you can just go back and check all the plushies that I've been doing during year. And same with all these projects. I've talked about all these projects during the year, so I'm just not gonna go so in details. If you're curious about anything, I have a Ravelry page that is up to date except for photos. I'm still without internet. If you have followed me during Vlogmas, I've been offline for 4 weeks. It's a long story. So the only thing that I have not updated yet are photos, but all of the data that I think it's important is up there. Also, if you're curious, feel free to go watch my knitting podcast where I talk more in details about each project. So this year I have knit 12 garments. 6 of those 12 are t-shirts, 4 are sweaters, 1 is cardigan and 1 is vest. At the back of this clothing rack you can also see 2 hexi cardigans, which are crochet. So these are technically 14 garments that I did this year. On the bottom you can see some of my blankets. I did 2 knit blankets and 1 crochet blanket. There are also sailor slippers, and I have a couple of baskets with my accessories. When it comes to accessories, I did 21 accessories, that is including the sailor's slippers. On top of 21, I also did 41 beanies, which I actually don't have with me, but I'm gonna insert a couple of pictures later when we get to that. Those beanies are made for charity, and I'll talk about that when we get to the accessories. We will start with garments because that is definitely the most fun part, and I will start in order as they are hanging here, just because it's gonna be easier. But first, let's start with what I'm wearing, because I've been working on this during Vlogmas. If you have been following me during Vlogmas, then you know that I've been rushing to finish this because I wanted to have all my knits off the needles before 2026 so that I can cast on fresh new projects for the new year. And I did it. I managed. I finished this couple of days early. Today is actually Tuesday, 30th of December, so everything is done, except I didn't blog this. I actually had enough time to blog this, but I forgot. But oh well. It is a bit curling on the bottom, but I'm not fussed about it. So this is Cumulus Tee on Neck by PetiteKnit, and I have knit this in Knitting for Olive pure silk in color ballerina. It is done on 3mm needles, and I have knit size medium. But I have knit this on a very tight gauge because this yarn is not giving a beautiful stitch definition, and I'm very much perfectionist. I love beautiful stitch stitch definition. So I was knitting on a tighter gauge, and therefore I got small size garment, which is still fine. It fits me nice. I love this. I love the way this feels on my skin. I think this is gonna be very much summer, not just summer, Australian weather appropriate garment. I do see myself wearing this a lot because this is just a plain basic t-shirt. It is a color that really suits me, so I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. The only thing I don't see myself doing again is knitting with this yarn. This was very painful on my hands. I was rushing to finish this and I can feel it in my hands, shoulders. My hands are pretty much numb after I have finished this. For that reason, I don't see myself knitting with this yarn anytime soon. Maybe sometimes in the future I might consider it, but I know for sure there are so much nicer summer appropriate fibers that are more suited for my style, my hands, and what I'm looking for. So yeah, this is Cumulus T.O. neck by PetiteKnit. I'm not going to go too much into details about the construction of every piece. You will see me wearing all my pieces in the B-roll footage where I will show you some close-ups. But when it comes to construction and details, please go check my knitting podcast, because if I were to do that for every single project, this video would be too long and no one has time for that, because I already talked about all of these projects. This one hasn't been featured on any knitting podcasts yet, but it will be featured in my future knitting podcast. I do plan on doing monthly or fortnightly knitting podcasts, so stay tuned for that. Let's talk about my first t-shirt, which was Tolsta Tee by Creabea. This one was done in DK weight. This is hobby cotton. I had a lot of hobby cotton for my crochet business and I was looking for a way to work through it without crocheting, and I got an idea to do a striped version of Tolsta Tee and I love it. Honestly, this is by far my happiest t-shirt and I really feel happy and I love the way this looks. I have worn it. It is not like peak of summer appropriate because it is DK and you can see there is not a lot of drape because it is a thicker cotton, but at the same time it is really cooling and it fits me nicely and I just love it. It's really beautiful. It was an enjoyable knit. It is on a bigger gauge for a t-shirt. It is done on 5mm needles and it is 17 stitch gauge and it was pretty quick knit. The only thing, again, with me being perfectionist and in general with plant-based fibers, I like to knit tight to achieve a beautiful stitch, and that's what I did here. Originally I knitted size 3, but it fits me as a size between 1 or 2, which I'm still fine. I think there are a couple of centimeters of positive ease, but I don't remember at the moment. So this is my first t-shirt. It is not my first finished project. My first finished projects were back in March when I started with knitting socks and I started with knitting December bows, which I don't have here, but I'm gonna insert some pictures. I'll come to talk about all of these things when we segue to accessories. At the moment, I'm just gonna focus on garments. There is no particular order for these garments as I finish them, but yeah, this is one of my most colorful and favorite things when it comes to colors. I don't wear a lot of colors, but when I do, I like pastel colors, even though this is not a lot of pastel, but still, it is soft enough that I would wear it. So after I finished my first Tolsta Tee, I had plenty enough of colors to make another one, and I was curious to make a long sleeve Tolsta Tee. So it is in the same pattern by Creabea. The beautiful thing about her pattern, she offers you DK and fingering weight versions, and this is again done in the same cotton yarn in a DK version, exactly the same as the first one. All I did was long sleeves and I went with a bigger neck, which was actually my mistake. This is for my daughter. She has not worn this yet. I made this one for her when she was heading to a 2-week trip in Japan, but unfortunately the weather was over 30 degrees with very humid, rainy days, and she did not have a chance to wear it, except for one evening when they were heading out for dinner, and she told me that the neckline is too big. I knew it was too big, and I was telling her, please, can you try this on so I can fix the neck if it's too big? And she was like, no, it will be fine, don't be bothered. And later on she just said, oh, the neckline is too big, I can't wear this. I'm like, yes, I knew that. I would have have fixed this if she tried it earlier, but you know, teenagers are very stubborn and she didn't want to try it on. So at the moment this is in the storage bin waiting for me to fix the neckline, and we are in the summer, so there is no rush for her to wear this. But I'm gonna just fix the neckline, make a smaller one, and it will be fine. I'm not gonna repeat myself a lot about this because it's pretty much the same as the first one. And this is my third Tolsta tee. As you can tell, I really enjoyed making Tolsta tee. I also do have Lask tee pattern, same by Creabea. It is a different construction and I'm looking forward to try that one and make many more t-shirts, because this one is my most worn t-shirt out of all the garments that I have made so far. This is done in fingering weight yarn. This one is done on 3.5 mil needles. It is 24 stitch gauge, which is pretty quick for a fingering weight yarn. I did size 4 just because I want it loose and oversized, and after I made this one I realized it was too tight and too hot for summer. That's why I wanted something more open and flowy. This is done in Bendigo woolen mills 4-ply cotton. The blue color is French navy and the white color is parchment. The only thing, the neckline is getting wider and wider with every wear. So for the next one I would definitely go with an even smaller neckline. I think I went already with a smaller neckline, but I think for the next one I will go even smaller because it is just the cotton and it's gonna keep stretching. But this is by far my favorite t-shirt I've been wearing. I've been wearing it a lot. It is very casual, easygoing. I can wear it over my jeans. I do see myself knitting a lot more t-shirts just because we do get the most wear out of the t-shirts in Australian summer. Not just summer, it's even autumn and spring can be really hot. So I really loved working with cotton. Bendigo woolen mills cotton is very soft and it was easy on my hands, and yeah, I do see myself making more of the t-shirts. Even with the long sleeves, we actually don't need like a lot of woolen garments. I can have garments like this in long sleeves and wear them all year around. Next we have Ebba Tee by Sari Nordlund, and this is done in Drops Bell. Drops Bell is very nice summer yarn. It is a cotton, linen and viscose blend. I did size 3 and I had mixed feelings making this because this is very much not my style. I'm very much into basics, as you can see with this and all the other t-shirts, and this was more like special occasion. I did wore this only once and it was for my daughter's formal. Parents did not attend the formal, but we were there just to drop her off and take some pictures, and I wore this t-shirt because I thought it was appropriate. It was more like put together, let's call it like that. But I don't see myself having a lot of occasions to wear t-shirts like this. It was a very hot day that day. It was, I think, 43 Celsius degrees and it was burning hot. Like my hands were literally burning even though it was 6 p.m. But I wasn't hot in this. It's how much I love this yarn. This was done on a tighter gauge because it was done on a 3.5 mil needles, but with the lace and openness it really felt nice on my skin. In case I don't see myself wearing this just for the style of t-shirt, I will salvage the yarn and make probably Lask tee or another Tolsta tee just to wear it as a plain t-shirt and get more use out of my knits rather than having them sit in my wardrobe without use, which would be a shame. I'm very much a process knitter, so I don't mind frogging all of this and starting fresh because I enjoy the process of knitting, and in the end, if I'm not happy with the finished garment, I'm just fine to frog it and make something that I will actually wear. So I'm just gonna leave this for this summer and decide until next year if I'm gonna keep it or frog it and make another t-shirt. It was a lovely pattern. I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it was one of my most expensive patterns, and I did talk about that in one of the podcasts. I'm not sure why are Sari Nordlund that expensive when it comes to her patterns, and she doesn't offer a lot when it comes to her patterns. It is just like basic pattern. I don't know, but it was by far my most expensive pattern. When you compare to, for example, Tolstati or any pattern that Creabea does, for less money you get so much in those patterns and so many variations that you can do, so many mods. So I do think that this was a bit of waste of money because I don't see myself knitting this ever again. Okay, so this is ranunculus. I'm sure everyone knows about ranunculus, so I don't have to talk about a lot, and I find ranunculus very controversial. A lot of people rave about it and a lot of people knit multiple of ranunculi, but I'm just not impressed. Same as, for example, the Ebati. I don't see myself wearing this on a casual occasions, and most of the times where I am going out, it's pretty much casual. I don't go to work. If I were to work, yes, I would wear this under the blazer or anything like that, because I used to work in corporate, so this would be okay under the blazer. But since I'm no longer working and most of my outings are pretty much casual, I have no place to wear this because it is very much, I call it feminine. It's nothing wrong about being feminine, it is just not my style. I don't know, I find myself very basic, to be honest with you. I did this in a Bendigo Woolen Mills cotton. It is a 4-ply cotton in colorway buttercream. I think one of the reasons I don't like it on me is this color is pretty much my skin tone and it washes me out. It's done on an open gauge like ranunculus is, and it's very much meshy. I do love how this feels. This is very lightweight. Let me double check my data because I have everything here. This t-shirt weighs only 160 grams. That's nothing. And for that reason, I understand the hype around the ranunculus because you can do so much with this pattern. I've seen so much possibilities, but it is just the style of the yoke that is just not my style. That's it. Maybe one day if my style changes, which it might with getting older, maybe one day I'll be able to wear this style, but at the moment it doesn't suit my style, so I don't see myself making another ranunculus. And that's all when it comes to t-shirts. Now we are going into sweaters, but this is sweater that I did in a summer fiber. Again, this is Drops Bell in a colorway light beige, and with this motif going on, this speaks summer to me. I couldn't see myself making this in a wool because it is very open and summery, and for me to make it in a wool, I wouldn't be able to wear it during summer or even in transition because it would be too hot. So I decided to go with a summer fiber, and can I just say I'm obsessed with this. This is by far one of my favorite garments. It fits me so nicely. This yarn is just amazing. I've been raving about Drops Bell yarn. It is just amazing. It has really softened up. If you have watched one of my podcasts, I did mention that with blocking it gets rough because it's very soft when you're working with it, but once you blocked it, it gets really rough, and I was scared it's gonna stay like this, but no, it really softens back. It's the linen that gets rough and it softens over time. This looks so beautiful. This was such a fun and engaging knit. I forgot to tell you what this is. This is Salty Days sweater by Veronica Limberg, or better known as Kutova Kika here on YouTube or Instagram. I apologize for that. I was just amazed. I did this as a part of knit along with Alicia from Lovely Day Knits. That knit along is probably ending tomorrow because the end is gonna be December, and this was such a fun knit. I enjoyed working on this, and this flew off my needles. This is done on 5mm needles. I did size medium, but again I was working on a tighter gauge because this is again plant-based fiber, so I achieved size small. I have a lot less positive ease that was intended for this garment. I think intended positive ease is around 25 or 30 centimeters, which is huge, and I didn't think that would suit me be more like in a summer style blouse. So I was really fine with working on a tighter gauge and achieving a smaller garment, and this is size small at the moment and it fits me perfect. I'm not sure how much positive ease I have at the moment, but it is just the perfect fit for a summer blouse. I wear this even in summer with long sleeves, just because if I'm heading out, we are usually in the car, or if we are going to a shopping center or even a restaurant, everyone is blasting an AC and I run cold. So having this really helps me staying warm, but at the same time you get a lot of breeze because it is very open and lacy. I do see myself wearing this a lot. It was enjoyable knit and I do recommend this a lot. Alright, so now we are going into my wool sweaters. I apologize for the creases because we are in the summer and all of these woolen sweaters were in a special storage. I store all my wool garments in a Ziploc bags in a storage on top of my closet, just because we are out of the season and I cannot wear them and I want to keep them protected, so that's why they are creased and I couldn't be bothered to straighten them. So this is Monday sweater by PetiteKnit. It is very basic and popular sweater by PetiteKnit. I adore it. This is one of my most used sweaters. You can see there is a lot of peeling going on because I did wear it a lot. This is not my most perfect finished project, but I do wear it a lot. I started on a looser gauge here on top and then I realized I don't like the stitch definition, and then I tightened on the bottom. So the bottom is just the perfect stitch definition, but this one is very loose and open, but I don't mind it. This is done in Bendigo Woolen Mills Whisper yarn. It is an 8-ply merino and the colorway is Magnolia. This is the only yarn from Bendigo Woolen Mills that I can tolerate because I do have extremely sensitive skin. Feel free to go back and watch a couple of my videos where I'm reviewing Knitting for Olive and Drops yarns against my skin. That's why I had a lot of wear out of this garment, because I can wear this on my bare skin, how soft Whisper is. I really love how squishy and nice it feels. Monday sweater is pretty much basic raglan and it has double folded collar with some ribbing on the bottom. Actually it has a lot of ribbing, and for the next time I'm gonna probably make it smaller because I like it on this garment, but I don't need another one with this much ribbing. I do see myself making this pattern again just because it is a perfect basic sweater that you can make in so many colors and have it as a staple in your wardrobe. It is done on a 4mm needles and this is size large, and I think I was spot on with gauge with PetiteKnit, so it has the same amount of positive ease as intended in the pattern. I really love this one and I already have some Whisper in my stash to make a new one. So on the same note with PetiteKnit and Monday sweater, this is Hans Holm sweater. This is a men's version of Monday sweater. It is the same construction, it is just a different raglan design. The collar is again folded, ribbing, pretty much basic raglan sweater. I made this one for my husband and it is done in Bendigo Woolen Mills classic yarn. This is their most basic wool yarn, but it is not good enough for my sensitive skin. Even knitting with this, it was irritating me, but luckily my husband has zero issues with skin sensitivity, so he was able to wear it. Working with this yarn, it's a pleasure. I really enjoyed working with it. The only problem is I don't enjoy wearing it, but that's why I made it for my husband. I do recommend any PetiteKnit patterns because they are so basic, straightforward, very much beginner friendly, and I just love her style. She has very basic style that I can see myself wearing in whatever design she has. This is sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It is done in Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in colorway Dusty Artichoke. I've seen this exact example on someone else on Ravelry and I fall in love and I decided I just want to make the same thing. This is the garment that I have actually tested the knitting for olive soft silk mohair on my neck, and I have a video about that. I've reacted really badly on this soft silk mohair. I'm yet to wear this garment because I finished this in spring and it was already too hot for me to wear it. Once I start wearing it in the autumn, I will update how it wears and how my skin is gonna react. In the end, I'm not actually even happy with the way this garment looks, just because I do think that my pearl stitches look very bad and loose. I think this yarn, merino and soft silk mohair held together would work best on 4mm needles, and this garment was done on 4.5. That was exact to the pattern, and I did size medium. This garment is designed to have a lot of positive ease. It is designed to be very oversized, massive, huge. I'm just not happy with the stitch definition between the cables. Cables have beautiful stitch definition, but my pearl bumps in between are just too loose and I don't like the way this looks. I will leave it for this autumn winter season, and if I don't see myself wearing it a lot, because I think it is actually too big on me, I'm considering salvaging this yarn and repurposing yarn and making something different. I've seen a different style full cable knits that don't have that much purling in between, so that it's not as stretchy and it's just neater. I just feel it would be neater, so I'm just gonna look for a different pattern and maybe knit this again. I love that there is not a lot of ribbing and it's very loose and straight. I don't know. I love the way it looked on the others, but I don't love the way it looks when I have finished it. I think if I have done this on 4mm needles, I would be off gauge, of course, but I think I would be more satisfied with the look. But yeah, I'm just gonna decide in the future if I wear it. That's why I'm considering frogging this and repurposing yarn, just because this yarn cost me $160 just for one project, and I'm sad to see that much money sitting in a garment that I'm not happy with. So we'll see. TBD. Next we have first and only cardigan. I do see myself making a lot more cardigans for the next year, just because I think they would be very practical for Australian weather, because you can easily take them off if you are too hot and put them on if you are too cold. This is Paul cardigan by PetiteKnit. This is by far, when it comes to the designers and the pattern writing and the pattern details and not just writing style, it is her construction style. It is, I don't even know how to explain. I think she is, from what I have knit, one of the most knowledgeable designers I have ever worked with, because I'm amazed with this pattern. You know, I'm pretty much new to knitting garments, and this pattern was a lot. There was a lot going on. It's very engaging. There's so many constructions, there's so many details, increases, decreases. Just watch one of my knitting podcasts where I rave about this pattern and how much I loved everything about this. The construction, you can tell the construction here starts with the two back saddle shoulders. This is double knit folded. This is just amazing, and then you go with the double knit bottom band and end up with a bottom ribbing. I'm just amazed with this pattern. I do see myself making more of these. What went wrong with this exact garment, it is just my gauge. I've started on gauge with the top part and I went loose as I was going back and forth. Essentially, when you stop increasing for the v-neck and join in the round, I went loose. Completely loose. I was like knitting, purling, and I just didn't stress about the gauge. I started this as a medium and I ended with, I think, 4 or 5 XL, which is crazy. That's why this is so big on the bottom, how loose my gauge ended up being. But I just wasn't too fussed about it because I was making a house cardigan. This is just something I'm gonna cozy up in the winter evenings when I'm too cold, and I didn't see myself making this to go outside of the house because of the color. This is Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic Tweed in 8 ply, and the color is Down Mist. As beautiful as this color looked online, it wasn't as good in person, and I was very disappointed, and at that time I didn't know that I could actually return my yarn. So I just proceed with knitting this. I had 4 balls, that's why I decided to make it huge, big, and just knit very very long, and I knew that this wouldn't be like a cardigan for me to go out. This would be just around the house or dog walks, school runs and things like that. That's why I'm not too fast that it is massive. Like it's really massive on me. This yarn is not the softest yarn. I cannot wear this next to my skin. That's why I went with cardigan, and since then I did buy more when Bendigo had sale, and I will be making another cardigan, probably Dagmar jacket, but I bought in a linen colorway. I do recommend this yarn for the feel, for the pleasure of knitting, and it's blocking really nicely. I have to say, I did have some rowing going on with my back and forth knitting, but with the blocking it all disappeared. I wasn't too fussed about it, and especially for the house cardigan I'm really happy with the way this looks. I am looking forward to make another one of these, more fitted, more outdoor appropriate, and this is just a beautiful pattern. I would only suggest you to buy this pattern, to look at these techniques and to learn from this pattern. That's all. I apologize for the creases because this has creased very badly, but we'll just have to roll with it. This is my first finished project when it comes to my knits, my garment knits. I think I have finished socks maybe before that, I'm not sure. This was where it all started, and this was the learning curve. This is Weekend Slipover V-neck by PetiteKnit, and it is done in Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 10-ply yarn in colorway Koala. It is done on 5.5mm needles, and I've done size 2XL. I'm not sure why I did 2XL, but oh well, I did. It was one of the first projects I did. It is huge, it is massive, but I've been wearing this a lot. Before I finished that cardigan, this was my house cozy evening thingy. When I was in my pajamas and I was a bit cold, I would just put this over me, and it was perfect, and I got a lot of wear out of it. Even though it's not perfect, I messed up the v-neck. You can tell this was my first ever weaving in ends. It is very obvious. I've learned better now. There were some rowing issues. You can see how I wove an end here. I've talked about all the mistakes I did, and I'm just fine with it because it was my learning curve. It was first project I ever done, and it has served me, and it will for the next season too, because it is just around the house sleepover. When I feel cold, I just put it on, and I can still work around the house with it because I don't have sleeves in my way, but it's keeping me warm to the core, and I'm fine with it. For my first project, I'll take it. And technically those are all my finished garments. I have another one that was almost finished, but I talked about it. This is gonna be frogged. This is Stripe Hype Sweater by Veronica Lindberg. I already finished everything. I also had a collar on, but everything was too tight. The collar was too tight, and it fits me, but it's not enough positive ease that I wanted. Again, I was working on a very tight gauge. This is Drops Cotton Merino. This is so beautiful, but I will be re-knitting again. I thought I was playing yarn chicken. That's why I didn't start with a bigger size to start with. And after I have finished this, I realized I have enough yarn. I'm just gonna frog it and start again. But that's gonna be future me problem. So I just wanted to share that I almost have 13 garments technically, but that's gonna be 2026 project. And that is all when it comes to garments. Now we will segue to some of my accessories that I did during this year. Let's start with the top, what I see first. These are penny gloves by PetiteKnit, and I've done this in Cardiff Cashmere Brush Light. That wasn't the best choice. I should have gone for Cardiff Cashmere Classic instead of the Brush Light. It is a bit oversized and slouchy. This should be one size fits all, but I'm not sure how this looks and feels. I was just curious to try Cardiff Cashmere, and it is beautiful yarn. I mean, this is just like heaven. I assume Classic feels the same, but the Brush Light just feels even better. I do see myself wearing these. There's nothing wrong about them, even though they are big and loose. Actually, I was wearing them. There were occasions when during the spring when we had some colder days. I'm usually running cold, and if I run cold, I run cold in my hands a lot. And at some occasion I was knitting or crocheting, whatever I was doing, and I was so cold in my hands that I actually put this on just to keep me warm, and it helped. If I can use it just for that, I should be fine. I could use this on my markets because I can do some cold winter markets and it's gonna be freezing, so this will be nice. So yeah, I do see myself having a use of this. It is okay pattern, nothing special, just a basic stockinette, fingerless mittens. These were one of my first socks. I'm just not gonna show them up close because they're all washed, but I didn't shave them. They are all very much peeling, fuzzy, because I do wear my socks, and I think these ones I should start mending because I can see some holes happening. This is just the plain basic vanilla sock pattern by Crazy Sock Lady, and I did this in a Peyton's Dreamtime Merino, which is not a sock yarn, but that was my first project and I didn't know better. Now I know that I need a better composition of the yarn, like at least some nylon in it, and I enjoyed knitting this. This was really enjoyable knit, and it's just a basic vanilla sock. There's not a lot to talk about it. I don't wear my socks out yet. I think I feel like overly protected and scared of ruining them, so I just wear them around home, but at the same time they do get ruined around the home because I wear Crocs around the home, and when I'm lounging on my chair when I'm knitting and crocheting, I'm leaning my feet on the heel and just rubbing against the chair. It's wearing them off on the heel part. And this was actually done on 9-inch circular. When I was starting with knitting socks, I bought two patterns from Crazy Sock Lady. I bought 9-inch circular pattern and Magic Loop just to learn from it, and I realized that I prefer 9-inch circular. After that, I did my second pair, which was done in a proper sock yarn, and these are not as soft. It is, I think, Hobby Flower, Silly Flower Sock Pop, something like that. Hobby is no longer available to Australia, so I'm not gonna talk a lot about them. And with this one, I just wanted to modify them a bit, so I did leg a bit shorter, and I wrote that down, everything. I wrote everything down, everything what I was doing, but would you imagine that I have picked up my notes when I started the second sock? No, I didn't. So I needed the second sock to the pattern, while this one had modifications and they are not matching. You can definitely see that this one is shorter than this one, but again, this is the color I would never wear out in the public. It is just too loud for me, so these are also my house socks, and they are very much peeling. Look, I'm not sure if camera will be able to pick this, but these are just worn around the house and they are peeling so much, and I think I already shaved them, but I should also mend them because I can see some holes happening. And the third socks that I did were again Crazy Sock Lady pattern, but this is DK version and this is free on Ravelry. So this is for my husband, and since it is DK, I just had some leftovers from his sweater, and I decided I'm just gonna make him house socks because this is just wool, there is no nylon in this, so he will just have it for the winter for lounging around the bed or sofa, whatever. He tried this on and they are perfect and I just love them. To be honest, DK socks are so easy to make, they just flew off my needles. They were so quick, ridiculously quick, but I don't mind knitting this, so I do see myself making a lot more socks for the next year. I already have yarn in my stash and I already have patterns, so yes, everything is in my Ravelry queue and I'm looking forward to make more socks. One of the other things that I find very useful, this is the leftover of my sock yarn, is yarn koozie. I talked about this in one of my podcasts where I'm showing how this works. This just goes around the yarn, wound yarn in a cake, keeps it nice and tidy without getting the cake mess, because I pull from center of the ball, cake, whatever, and when those get like smaller and smaller and they tend to flop, this just keeps everything nice and tidy. And this is patterned by Nitty Natty, also on YouTube. So yeah, not a lot to talk about this. I talked a lot about this during my Vlogmas, so I'm not just gonna repeat. This is Painting Honeycomb Shawl by Steve Steven vest. These are small honeycombs. If you have watched my vlogmas, then you know I had fiasco with Strucket, and the reason why I don't recommend Strucket for knits, go watch that video. I do not recommend Strucket for your knits. I've learned my lesson a long time before, and I still made this mistake when I was filming for my vlogmas. So this is such a beautiful shawl, and I enjoyed knitting on this. It is done in Skein Sisters fabulous sock yarn. It is superwash merino. It is so beautiful and soft, and this pattern was really fun to make. This is not a color work, this is mosaic knitting. You are slipping stitches for the other color, and like with any Steven vest patterns, this was really enjoyable knit. There is not a lot to tell about this. I talked about this during my whole month of Vlogmas, so feel free to go back and watch it. I do recommend this yarn. It is Skein Sisters are Australian small business owners and yarn dyers. They are here in Sydney, and I visited them on my birthday and purchased this yarn, and yeah, that's it. And then next we have two Sophie scarves. I'm sure everyone and their mother know what is Sophie scarf at the moment, or I think Sophie scarf has been popular for the past 2 or 3 years. It is, in case you don't know, it is a pattern by PetiteKnit. Essentially, it is just a mini scarf that you're increasing halfway, decreasing the next half. This one is done in Drops Soft Tweed in colorway Cookie Dough. This is not the softest around my neck, but bear in mind I have extremely sensitive skin. This is gonna be a gift knit. Essentially, it just makes a croissant when you fold it down. I made this one for gift, not sure who is gonna receive this. It's just gonna go in my gift knit pile, and this is such a mindless and easy project. And usually when I want to test yarn, I buy a skein or two just to fill the yarn, and then I'm left over with what am I gonna do. I can make a beanie or Sophie scarf, so that's why I did Sophie scarf out of this one. And my next Sophie scarf, I did talk about it during Vlogmas because I was buying this lilt yarn from Bendigo Woolen Mills. It is their mohair. This is by far the fuzziest mohair I have ever worked with, and the softest one. If you have watched one of those videos, I rave about this. It is so much better than knitting for olive ones. By far my best mohair I have tried is Isaiah Soft Silk. After Isaiah, this one is my second best. I can see myself making so much more out of this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna gift this one or sell this one. When it comes to PetiteKnit and selling anything that you made out of her patterns, you're not allowed to do that. That's why I didn't make this one to the pattern. I changed the size needle, I changed the increase rate, decrease rate, and I didn't stick to the pattern just so I can sell it, because I do have a small business, I do markets, and I'm sure if I bring this to one of my markets, there is a chance someone can buy it. And I never want to limit myself with things that I can sell. And PetiteKnit not allowing anything made out of her patterns to be sold, I just modify pattern because she cannot put license on a basic garter stitch with I-cord. So I really do like this. This color actually suits me. So in case it doesn't sell, I might keep it for myself because it really looks nice on me, and it's really something that I can wear because it's really soft. Speaking of PetiteKnit and things that I have made during the year, and I don't have them with me because they are in my market storage, and some of them I have already sold, is December bow. I did 5 December bows, which I'm also counting under accessories. I think I sold 3. I'm not sure. I didn't check my square report, but I also modified that pattern slightly because December bow is very big and chunky, so I just made it slightly smaller to fit as a hair accessory, because I also did sell some hair accessories during year. So yeah, 5 December bows, which I don't have with me, but I also counted them in. And now let's switch to the beanies, because this is just a small selection of beanies I have here, but I will talk about all the other beanies that I have done. This is my latest make, the one that I have finished the same day when I finished this, which was 2 days ago. This is just a basic 1x1 ribbed beanie. This is a free pattern. It is called Tree Planter Talk. This was suggested to me by one of the girls from the Kutowakika Knit Along. I was in the Instagram chat with them and she suggested this as a free nice pattern, and I tried it immediately and fell in love. It is essentially single fold 1x1 ribbed beanie. It is free pattern on Ravelry with some beautiful crown decreases, and I did a couple of them. This one was done in Drops Alpaca, but since Drops Alpaca was very thin and I started Musselburgh beanie with it and I just wasn't happy, I held it double and I was almost playing yarn chicken, but I managed to finish this whole beanie with 2 skeins of Drops Alpaca. I love how this soft is. It is squishy. It is done on 4mm needles, so it is a bit more squishy and thicker fabric, but I liked it. It worked for this beanie. I was looking into making, I think it's Weekend hat by PetiteKnit. I think it is with a triple brim, but I didn't have enough yardage or meterage to finish the hat, so I just went with this one. And speaking with that pattern, I also made another 2 of them. These are done in Spot Saver acrylic yarn, and I made this for my markets. In case they don't sell for the next season, I will be donating them to charity. There are a couple of markets that I do where the beanies can sell, so I just like to take them with me, and whatever doesn't sell I will be donating to charity. Usually beanies are not a good seller in Australia, but I have problem with enjoying making them, so I make a lot of beanies just because I enjoy the process of making them, but unfortunately I cannot sell them. And I have 2 more beanies. This one is Musselburgh beanie by Isolda Teague, very well known and popular pattern. It is actually hobby silly sock yarn, same as this one, but I just didn't want to have another colorful socks that I won't wear out of the house, so I decided to make a beanie. My son likes this one, but he doesn't wear beanies. Actually, in Australia we don't wear beanies at all, but if we ever travel to Croatia during winter, which we did last year, this would be a good beanie for winter season. I'm not gonna disassemble this. You know what is Musselburgh. You just need a very long tube and then just fold it in half and put the brim around, so I just don't want to mess it around. So yeah, it is very well known pattern. And last but not least, this is by far my favorite hat. This is Oslo hat by PetiteKnit. I can totally understand why everyone is raving about this hat. It is just the construction and the fit. Even my husband tried this on and he said, wow, this is like a store-bought beanie, and if you were to tell me that you made this, I wouldn't believe you, because the construction, the fit, everything is just beautiful. This is done in Drops Sky and the colorway is light sea green. Drops Sky is a cotton chain yarn with alpaca and some wool blown into it. It is an interesting yarn, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's not very itchy and it's perfect for hat, but I don't see myself buying any more Drops Sky. Same with Drops Alpaca, because it was very floppy and sloppy to work with this. So yeah, that's why I was just buying 1 or 2 skeins to test the yarn to see if I like them and making beanies out of them, and now I know that I won't be repurchasing these yarns again. And that is all when it comes to all the accessories that I made for me or gift knits. I have made 41 ribbed beanies for charity. I'm gonna insert a couple of pictures of them. I have them stored away, so I just didn't want to pull them out. Those are just basic ribbed beanies. They're chunky, they're by Passionate Kelsey, they're double stranded, they're really fun and enjoyable knit for me. It takes me less than 3 hours to make an adult beanies and 2 hours to make a baby beanie, so it is just my comfort knit. I've been making 41 of them and I started making those in July, so 41 in just less than a half year. That just shows you how comfort knit that was for me. All the children beanies will be donated to the charity next year. Adult beanies I will keep for the markets next year, and whatever is not sold on the next year's markets will be donated the year after to charity. That's just how it works for me. I'm always trying, if I can sell them, get some money to buy more yarn to make more beanies, I'm fine. If it doesn't sell, I'm really happy to donate to charity. And I'm only left with a couple of more things to show you. So we have very well known sailor slippers. During this vlogmas I have showed you how I felt this. We went through this all together as I was knitting, felting, blocking and things like that. So yeah, if you're curious about all of this, just go watch my vlogmas back when I was felting this. This was my first time felting something on purpose and I really enjoyed making this. I have enough yarn for my husband's one and I'll probably make them soon, definitely before autumn, winter, and yeah. Sailor slippers, very well known at the moment and very trendy. And last but not least, I have two blankets. These are charity blankets. Like I mentioned, with all the children's beanies that I have been knitting for the charity, I have also knit two blankets. This one is called Easy Diagonal Knit Baby Blanket and it is by Gina Michelle. It is free on Ravelry and it is pretty much basic diagonal blanket. You start from one corner and just increase and start decreasing till you reach the next corner. There is some interest to it. You're mostly doing some knit stitches with some lace work just to give it some interest, and this was like very much my mindless project. And when it comes to charity, I'm mostly destashing my yarn. That is the purpose of everything that I'm doing for charity. I'm just destashing my yarn. As a process knitter and crocheter, I enjoy working, but I don't have to keep everything for myself. That's why I'm happy to work on all of these things and just donate them to people in need. And my second blanket, it's also baby blanket. It is also very well known Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose. I did this one in Spot Saver 10-ply yarn. It is just an acrylic yarn with all these fun colors, and this is such an enjoyable knit. I cannot rave enough about this pattern, how enjoyable and fun knit this is. I do see myself making more of this and I do recommend this pattern a lot. This is not blocked, that's why it's not perfect. I did a crochet border around the edge and I can't rave more about this pattern. I'm sure everyone knows about this pattern and Laura Penrose, so I'm just not gonna talk a lot about this. I forgot to mention this yarn. This is Lion Brand Mandala Ombre yarn that I have a lot of in my stash and I'm trying to get rid of it because these colors are too loud for me. And technically that is all when it comes to my knits, but I do want to give an honorable mention to 4 of my crochet bigger projects that are not plushies, just because I won't be filming anything in regards to crochet, but I just want to mention it. This is one of my lab blanket that usually sits behind me on my chair when I'm filming videos. This is braided wheat blanket by Brianna K Designs. This braided wheat stitch just got me. I also made a couple of beanies out of this. I just simply love this stitch. It is very beautiful, puffy and soft, and especially in this yarn, I actually think she recommends this yarn for the pattern. This is Lion Brand Color Theory in the colorway Moonbeam. This is really soft acrylic yarn and I rave about this yarn a lot. So yeah, just an honorable mention to this blanket. I actually have another blanket that I forgot to pull out. It is another charity blanket, crochet granny square blanket that I have been working on during this vlogmas. I've been working on that blanket for past 6 months because I've been only working granny squares when I was doing markets, and it is just a baby size blanket and it's gonna be donated to charity. It is made out of red heart granny square yarn. And my last 2 crochet projects are just 2 hexie cardigans. This one is for my husband and this one is for me. Unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan how this looks on my husband. He has never wore it and I'm not mad about it because I don't think it suits his style and there is nowhere that he can wear this. So what I'm planning to do, maybe salvaging this yarn and making another charity blanket next year, who knows. But this I actually love and I've been wearing a lot. This one is done in Caron Latte Cakes in a color Plum Fresh. It is very nice and soft and fun colors, and yes, I enjoy wearing this one. So technically that is it. That is everything that I have made in 2025 when it comes to knits and a bit of crocheting. I have so many plans for 2026. I have a lot of yarn in my stash that I've bought for the past 6 months. I have a lot of project plans and I'm looking forward to casting all of that and sharing with you on my knitting podcast. So if there is something that interests you, stick around and stay tuned for my future projects, because there will be a lot of knitting coming next year or this year. Whenever you are watching this, you're probably gonna watch this in 2026, because by the time I publish this, it's already gonna be 2026. So yes, a lot of projects in plans and yarn reviews, yarn updates, how my sensitive skin is handling all of these yarns, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best in the new year, and until next time, happy crafting!